سلام، مریم سادات طباطباییان هستم. درس زبان عمومی و کتاب امپلویبل انگلیش رو قراره در کنار هم بخونیمش. کتاب امپلویبل انگلیش بر اساس الگوی مفهومی آموزش دانشگاه فردوسی مشهد نوشته شده و هدفش ارتقاء مهارت‌های کاریابی دانشجویان در کنار زبان انگلیسیه. یعنی قراره تا انتهای این کتاب علاوه بر مهارت‌های زبانی، مخصوصا مهارت خواندن، روی مهارت‌های زندگی شما هم کار بشه و بتونید در آینده راحت‌تر وارد بازار کار بشید. به همین منظور عناوینی که توی این کتاب انتخاب شدن شامل رزومه نویسی، عملکرد موفق برای مصاحبه‌های شغلی و اینجور چیزها هستن. متن رو که با هم میخونیم قسمت هایی هست که بهتون وقت میدم متن رو بخونید و سوالات رو جواب بدید. توی اون قسمت ها لطفاً ویدیو رو پاز کنید، سوال ها رو جواب بدید با توجه به متن و بعد دوباره ویدیو رو پلی بکنید تا ادامه ویدیو رو بتونید تماشا بکنید. درس اول کتاب Sense and Communication هستش. این درس در مورد NLP هستش و موضوعاتی که به NLP مربوط میشن. NLP چیه؟ NLP یکی از شاخه های روانشناسی هست که به رفتار آدم ها میپردازه و استراتژی های افراد موفق رو سعی میکنه پیدا بکنه. همچنین به رفتارهای افراد در مقابله با هم و در ارتباط با هم دیگه میپردازه. خب، let's start the first lesson. So, what are our 5 main senses? Do you know them? We've got 5 main senses, and they include sight or seeing. It has to do with seeing whatever there is around us. The second one is touch, feeling things with your hand, with your skin. That is the sense of touch. You understand if something is soft or hard by just touching it. The third one is hearing. You hear all the sounds with your ears and with the sense of hearing. The next one is taste. When you eat food, you taste it using your tongue. So, you understand whether it is sweet or sour with your tongue. And finally, smell. You smell with your nose. Again, when you want to eat food, actually you just get the smell of it through your nose. So, these are our 5 senses. All of us get information from the world through these senses. Look at the picture. What do you see in the picture? Yes, it's a mosque. Which senses are more active in this environment? Most probably yes. Sight, because you see different things around. What else? Hearing as well, because there are different sounds in a mosque that you listen to sometimes, or you hear them. What about other senses? Are they as important? I don't think so. Sight and hearing seem to be more active than other senses in a mosque. Which of your senses do you use most often? Any ideas? Do you just use your sense of seeing more or hearing? For example, when you study, do you prefer to read or do you prefer to listen to it? Or do you have to write it down so that you learn? Which sense is more important for you? I prefer to write down things, for example. What sort of information do we get from our senses? Our sense of sight helps us to see the shape of things, the colors, and the like. What about the other senses? Think about them. Now, let's take a look at the text. Look at the question. It says, skim the article. What is skimming? Do you read newspapers? Do you read them just with every detail? Or no? Do you just read it quickly to get a general idea, to understand the whole idea? We usually do not read newspapers in every detail. We don't pay a lot of attention to all words. We usually read them very quickly to understand what happened. So, that is skimming. Skimming is reading a text very quickly to get a general idea. So, پس بچه‌ها اسکیم کردن خوندن یک متن خیلی سریعه برای اینکه یه ایده کلی ازش بگیرید. به جزئیات، به لغات ناشناختش اینا معمولا توجهی نمی کنیم وقتی اسکیم رید می کنیم. فقط سریع می خونیم به آخرش برسیم ببینیم کلن در مورد چی میخواد صحبت بکنه. Now, skim the article and answer this one question. It asks, is the text mainly about what NLP experts do? Who are NLP experts? Experts are people who work in a field of study. They are very skillful at it, and they do it very well. They are called experts. So, NLP experts deal and analyze people's communication skills or types, and then they talk about all these people. So, is the text about what they do or how we use our senses in communication? Let's read the text. 3 minutes. So, did you read the text? Was it easy? I hope so. Which one was the answer? Did the text talk about what NLP experts do? Or how we use our senses in communication? Yes, true. The second answer is correct. Now, let's read the text more carefully this time. Now, we want to get some information from the text. We want to read it very carefully. Let's go through it once more. This time, answer these 5 questions. You've got 5 minutes. So, how did you find the questions? Easy, I hope. Let's check your answers together. Let's take a look at the first question together. It asks, what senses are more important to us? The answer is most probably in this part of the text? Let's look at it more carefully. Look, it says we use these systems to get information from the world. You remember the senses, right? Seeing, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. So, what are the systems? Yes, they are directly related to our senses. Look at the first one. It's visual. What is visual? Seeing. That's our visual sense. The second one is auditory, or hearing. Then kinesthetic. It is touching actually, and also movement, physical movement, moving, like running, jumping, these are all movements. And they have to do with the kinesthetic system. Then we've got olfactory, or the sense of smell. And finally, gustatory, the sense of taste. There is one more here. It is auditory digital, using logic. What is logic? Logic is thinking carefully about everything. For example, before you come to university, you used your logic to choose your major. How? You talked to different people, you thought of your future job, and then you chose your major. منطق بچه ها. Logic, منطق. So, these systems are the ones we get information through. Now, which ones are more important? Because the question asks, which one is most important? Look at this sentence. It says, olfactory and gustatory systems are not normally the most important ones. So, if olfactory and gustatory are not the most important ones, then the other four are the important ones. What are they again? Yes, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and auditory digital. Great. So, let's move on to the next question. The question is about kinesthetic people. What are their favorite senses? The answer is most probably in this part. It is called kinesthetic. So the answer has to be there. Let's look at the paragraph together more closely. Look at this line. It says, these people are in tune with their feelings, or use external touch to guide them, or both. What is the meaning of in tune? It means they can use it very well. What can they use very well? Yes, their feelings. Feeling, actually. Do you remember? Also, touch. So, inner feelings and external touch are important to them. These are very important to them. So, the answer to the question, again, what are their favorite senses? Definitely touch and feelings. Let's move on to the next question. What are auditory digital people like? Auditory digital people, remember, they use logic. The answer is most probably in this part of the text, because the title is Auditory Digital. Let's take a closer look. It says, people with this preference like facts. What are facts? For example, the earth goes around the sun. This is a piece of fact. It always goes around the sun. Or the sun rises in the east. It's a piece of fact. It is always true. It never changes. Or water boils if you heat it. Again, it's a piece of fact. They never change. So, auditory digital people use facts a lot. Also, they use their logic brain. They think a lot about issues before they make decisions. But it says they do not pay attention to how things look, what they see, or how things sound, or how things feel. They are not like visual, auditory, and kinesthetic people who rely on their feelings, what they see, or what they hear. They rely on facts, they use facts, and science. These two are important to them. So they analyze things as you see, and it says they like facts, science, processes, and they need to understand something before they do it. If they don't understand it, they cannot do it. So that's how they are. Next question. How can understanding others' preferred sense help communication? What is preferred? If you prefer something, you like it more. Your preferred sense is the one you use more. Some people use their visual sense more, so they prefer it. Some others use movements more, so they prefer kinesthetic. So, now, we want to see how knowing people's preferred sense help us communicate more successfully. Let's read this paragraph together. Look at the title. How to deal with people with different preferred systems. So, it shows us how we can communicate with them. The answer must be here. Look at this line. Look at these. It says, if we are similar to other people, we can communicate more successfully. And if we are totally different, completely different, then maybe we don't like the people we are communicating with. Look at this. It says we find them annoying. What is annoying? Yes, it means they make us sad. We don't like to communicate with them. And we feel bad when we want to communicate. Why? Because we don't understand them. So, now we know that when we are similar to someone, the same sense we are using, then we understand them better, we like to communicate with them more. When we are different, we do not really like communicating much. Or, look at this part. We communicate more with them because they are different. We are interested in them. We want to know actually who they are, how they are different. So we find them interesting. Therefore, knowing these senses helps us deal with these individuals. Deal with, here it means communicate, right? When you deal with someone, you actually, you are able to just talk to them, understand them, and you are okay with them. You don't find any problems in doing so. سر و کله زدن بچه‌ها، سر و کار داشتن. So, when we know what is their preferred sense, we can easily communicate with them. Or we can communicate with them better. This is the answer to the question. Next question. How can we communicate with an auditory digital person? Do you remember auditory digital people? What were they like? Good. They liked facts, science, and they needed to understand everything. Now, look at this paragraph. It's again about auditory digital people and how we can communicate with them. Look at the underlined lines. It says, present facts and talk about science. Do not just talk about your opinion or idea, but facts and science. Also, talk of logical sequences, not just anything. Don't ignore details. Details are very important. You cannot just close your eyes and say, okay, let's put them away. You have to pay attention to details. Disregard is the opposite of pay attention. So you have to pay attention to details. And use words like understand, because understand has to do with the brain and with thinking. And they like such words because they are based on facts. Or know, these are the words that you have to use with them. So, present facts, talk science, tell them about the facts that you know, not your opinions, scientific things. Also, do not use words of feeling like I feel, I see, I hear. No. Just talk, actually use words like understand that have to do with thinking and the brain. Next part. Let's read the text again and carefully again. This time, check the sentences true or false. Some of them are true, some of them are false. 5 minutes again. So, how did you find it? Let's check your answers. Look at the first sentence. It says, to communicate effectively, you have to know the preferences of the people you talk to. What is effectively? Yes, it means successfully, well. If you want to communicate well, you have to know their preferences. That is what the sentence says. Is it true? Let's read this part of the text. Look at the underlined lines. It says, we use our senses, and these different senses affect the way we communicate. They influence it. So, NLP helps us use this concept and understand this concept to just communicate more effectively. So, if we know these concepts, I mean, if we know NLP, if we know that people are different from us, and each one of them has a different sense, then we can communicate more effectively. So, true or false? It's definitely true. Next sentence. It says all visual preference people are very creative. Are they? Let's look at the part about visual people. Look at this sentence. It says they can be very creative. So, are they all creative, or maybe some of them? It means some of them. When we say they can be creative, it means some of them are very creative, but some of them are not. So, true or false? The question says all of them. Therefore, the answer, actually this sentence is false. Let's move on. Auditory people prefer reading to being read to. You know reading. What is being read to? Yes, when others read something for you, you are being read to. So, if you listen to someone reading a story, you are being read to. So, auditory people, do they like reading more, or do they like others to read for them? Let's take a look at this part. It says what they hear is more important than what they see or feel. When you read, you see it. When others read, you hear it. That means instead of reading something, they prefer to talk about it or hear it. So, is the sentence true? The sentence says they like reading more than hearing others read to them. Therefore, it is false. Next sentence. The environment has to be full of crafts and physical activity for kinesthetic people. Remember kinesthetic people? Let's just take another look at the paragraph. It says they love physical activity and doing crafts like woodwork or even cooking. So, physical activity, doing crafts. What are crafts? Yes, making things with hand. They are crafts. Kardasti. So, is the sentence true? It says that the environment has to be full of physical activity and crafts. Do kinesthetic people like them? They do. So, the sentence is true. Now, the last sentence. It says, people whose sense preference is different from you are annoying, meaning that they make you angry. So, is that true or false? Let's read this part together. So, it says people who have a different system because they like my least preferred system. different. We are totally different. It says, they may be annoying, but it says, it is also likely you might be in an intimate relationship with them. What is intimate relationship? It's very close, good friends. So, some of them may be annoying, some of them may be really good friends, because we are interested in differences. We are attracted to them. So, is the sentence correct? Are they all annoying? No. The sentence is false. Now, let's read the text from the beginning together to understand all the paragraphs of it. Senses and communication. Now we know our 5 senses, and we know that they are important when we interact with other people and when we communicate with them. So, in the beginning, the text asks about the sense you use most to make decisions, or to process information, or to communicate with others. Which sense do you use most to do these? And then it asks, if you understand that, knowing others' people favorite sense helps you communicate better. Look at the green box. It asks, why do you think the senses might help us communicate better? Any reasons? Share your ideas with your friends. There are definitely a lot of reasons. Then it talks about the systems we use to understand the world. Look at the systems. There are 6 systems for understanding the world. What was visual again? Yes, seeing. It says seeing or imagination. What is imagination? Imagination is just considering things that do not exist or that are not real. For example, رستم و سهراب in شاهنامه. They never existed. Rustam never fought with many demons. They are not real characters. They are Ferdowsi's actually imagination. So, the second one is auditory. What is auditory? Auditory is hearing and sounds. And then we have kinesthetic. Feelings, touch, and movement, physical movement. Then olfactory or smell, gustatory, taste, and finally auditory digital or processing experience, using logic in everything. It says auditory digital is an NLP concept. What does it mean? NLP concept? It means it's a word that is used by people who are very good at NLP, by NLP experts. And we only use it when we are talking about NLP and different things related to it. And it says it is like self-talk or logic. These are features of auditory digitals, remember? Olfactory and gustatory systems are not the most important ones according to the text. So, we don't use smell and taste a lot. And that is why they are not talked about in this text. This text does not consider olfactory and gustatory systems. It just talks about the other 4 systems. And it's because we each use our senses differently, and this impacts how we communicate, NLP has tried to use this concept to help people relate and learn more effectively. So, people use their senses differently. Different people prefer different senses. NLP experts try to help people understand how they can communicate with those who have different preferences. پس بچه ها تا اینجا فهمیدیم که ما سیستم های مختلف داریم برای ارتباط برقرار کردن و این سیستم ها متفاوت عمل میکنه. دانش در مورد این سیستم ها به ما کمک میکنه بهتر بتونیم ارتباط برقرار کنیم و بهتر بتونیم یاد بگیریم مطالبو. برای همینه که NLP انقدر روی این مفاهیم تاکید میکنه. Let's continue. Look at the question in the green box. It says, how can knowing your strongest and weakest senses influence you? How can it have an effect on you? Maybe the way you study is different. For example, maybe people who are visual like to see things more. Auditory people hear things. So that's how different people are different. Let's continue the text. What is your key system then? Now, the text introduces the 4 systems. The first one is visual. It talks about people whose preferred system is the visual system. It says, they sort the world by how it looks. They understand it through what they see. And what they see is more important than what they hear or what they feel. They pay attention to whatever they see. That is why they like pictures a lot. Picture description actually is very important to them. And they use verbs like look, appear, see. What is appear? It means seem, yes? به نظر رسیدن. So, these are the words that they prefer to use. So, when communicating with someone with this preference, give them something to look at. For example, you can give them pictures or diagrams. What are diagrams? Nemudar, right. So, if they see things, they will learn it better, they will understand it better. They may find it hard to process talking alone. If you only talk to them, they cannot easily understand you. They need something to look at, and then they will understand. This is also essential to their learning style. What is essential? It means necessary. You see it in the glossary. So, it is necessary for them actually because their learning style is also visual. They learn by seeing. Learning style is سبک یادگیری, so that's how they learn. Visual preference people can be very creative, are often attracted to jobs that make the most of their visions. So, imagination and different ideas are very important to them. Now, auditory people, what are they like? Let's read about them. So we know that for the people who have this preference, what they hear is very important. It says what they hear is more important than what they see or what they feel. They rely on their ears. They use their ears more. They prefer to talk about things. Talk things through means discuss things. Talk about things with someone else instead of reading things. They don't like reading things, but talking about it to someone else. So, they may call you and talk about an email you sent them. Because if they only read the email, they will not get much information. But when they hear you just tell them what you want, they will understand it better. It says they are very sensitive to tone, pace, and the quality of sounds. Tone of your voice, up, down, what's it like? Also, the speed you talk with, these are very important to them. And the quality of your voice, how good is it? That is why they love music. And many of them play music well because they can understand it well. Because music has to do with hearing. It says, it also means that they are quite familiar with tones of voice and precise language. They remember exactly what other people said. What is precise? Yes, it means exact. دقيق. So, they just get a lot of information with the tone of voice. They understand different tones of voices very well. And they remember the things they hear very well. They learn by listening and talking about things to other people. Again, because when other people are talking, they hear them. So it says they won't make decisions on important things before discussing them. If they don't talk about things to other people, they cannot make decisions. People with this tendency may avoid eye contact, preferring to give you their ear, which can cause communication issues with people who have other preferences. What is the meaning of tendency? Yes, it means preference, something you like to do. So, now we know that auditory people might not look at you in the eye, that is eye contact, because they prefer to listen carefully. Looking at people is not important to them. That might cause communication issues or communication problems when they are talking to visual people, for example. Because visual people need to see. And they need to see that you're looking at them. Next, we've got kinesthetic people. For kinesthetic people, feeling is more important than seeing and hearing because they rely on the sense of touch and how they feel. Remember, it says they are in tune with their feelings or use external touch to guide them or both. So, either actually what they feel, their feelings, or external touch, just touching things simply. movement, remember? Or they use both of them together. It also says that they learn by doing. That is why they do not like theory. And they are more interested in trying things, testing different things. Instead of just listening to theories, they like to test it. If they don't test it, they cannot learn it. They also love physical activities and doing crafts. Remember, making things by hand. Woodwork, like working with wood, making different things out of wood. Or cooking. Nice activities. And it says because people with a kinesthetic preference rely on their feelings, they take a bit longer to process information. What is the meaning of rely on? Yes, it means use. They use actually this, they depend on their feelings. They just use their feelings more. That is why they understand issues a bit later. They check in with how they feel about what's just been said. So, whatever you tell them, they just check their feelings. Do they feel good about it? Do they feel bad about it? If they feel good, they're not going just to be sad about it. They will be happy, they will do it. If they feel bad, they will just stop doing it. They will not do it. So their feelings are very important to them. And it says comfort is very important to them. What is comfort? Yes, being comfortable. For example, if you sit on an armchair, you feel comfortable. You are relaxed. So comfort is very important to them. Their body has to be comfortable. Otherwise, they cannot understand well. They get distracted. They get nervous and they cannot pay attention. Okay. So, they do not like hard seats. And finally, auditory digitals. So, auditory digitals like facts, making sense, and logic. It says facts, making sense, and logic are more important than how something looks, sounds, or feels. They pay attention to facts, not the things they see, not the things they hear, not their feelings. It's not important if they feel good about something or not. They will consider the advantages and disadvantages and then they will choose. They will not just rely on how they feel. They will often talk to themselves. Why do they talk to themselves? It says, as a way of working through things. When they talk to themselves, they analyze different things. They try to understand them. And they like facts, science, processes, and they need to understand something before they do it. If they don't understand the point, they cannot do it. They cannot just memorize something without understanding, for example. They have to understand it completely, and then they memorize it. پس بچه تا اینجای متن با افراد مختلف، مدل های مختلف آشنا شدیم. مثل ویژوال ها که الان میدونیم دوست دارن ببینن و با دیدن یاد میگیرن، یا آدیتوریا که با شنیدن یاد میگیرن و اگر بهشون گوش بدین ارتباط موثرتری میتونین باهاشون برقرار کنید. یا حرکتی ها یعنی کینستتیک ها که فیزیکال موومنت رو دوست دارن، نمیتونن یه جا بشینن برای مدت طولانی، باید راحت باشه جاشون و الا اذیت میشن و یادگیریشون مختل میشه چون نمیتونن تمرکز کنن. و در نهایت آدیتوری دیجیتال ها که الان میدونیم با منطق سر و کار دارن، کاری ندارن از چیز خوششون میاد یا بدشون میاد. اگر منطقی باشه انجام میدن، منطقی نباشه انجام نمیدن. پس الان میدونیم که 4 دسته افراد مختلف از لحاظ NLP وجود دارن با ترجیحات مختلف. حالا ادامه بدیم ببینیم که ادامه متن چی میگه. و اینکه تا حالا فکر کردین شما کدوم یکی از این دسته ها هستید؟ So, look at the green box. How can you understand your preferences and strengths? Think about your learning, the way you learn best. I guess that can help you understand your own preference. Also, you can think about the way you make decisions. That can also be helpful. Now, how to deal with people with different systems. Now that we know there are different systems and people have different systems, we need to be able to communicate to them. We cannot just say, okay, let's put them away. I only communicate with visuals because I'm a visual. No. In the world, you need to communicate with people who have different systems. So, you need to know how. Let's read this part to understand. The first paragraph in this part, starting with "we will naturally communicate," talks about the fact that we communicate better with people who are similar to us. Because we have a lot of similarities. I'm a visual, my friend is a visual, we both like seeing things, we both like having eye contact, so we communicate more successfully. And we like each other more because we understand each other better. So, it's easier to communicate with similar people. But people who have a strong preference for your least preferred system. What is the meaning of least preferred system? Yes, it means the system you do not use at all, or you cannot learn anything through it. For example, I might be a visual, but if others talk to me, I will not understand anything by hearing only. I would like to look at things. I don't like hearing things only. That gives me no information. That is my least preferred system. I don't like it at all. So, it says if they are totally different from us, and if they use this system that we don't use, we might find them annoying. We might feel bad when we communicate with them. They may make us angry when actually we are communicating. Because they're a mystery to us. They're a puzzle. They're puzzling. We cannot understand them. It's difficult to understand them. In other cases, it says, you might be in an intimate relationship with them. So, sometimes people who are totally different become very close, become good friends. Why? Because they are attracted to each other. They find each other interesting, so they attract each other. That's why they become good friends. It says, don't panic, means don't worry, relax. Here are some tips for us to understand how to communicate with people who are different from us. What is the meaning of tip? Yes, small pieces of advice or information. The text gives us some advice on how to communicate with people who are different from us. Actually, the text gives us some advice on how to communicate with people with different preferences. First, advice on communicating with visual people. Remember, visuals, they like seeing, they like just reading and the like, because they see, they like to have eye contact. So, it says, if you're not a visual and if you don't use the system much, then make an extra effort to prepare for visual people in meetings. Make an extra effort. What does it mean? It means try harder. Because you are not visual,
when you have a meeting with somebody who is visual, you need to just pay attention to their preferred style and system. And you have to try to prepare things in a way they like. It says, give them something to look at, for example, a PowerPoint presentation, because they like PowerPoint presentations. Or even a bullet list, list things for them so that they understand them more clearly. It says it may seem pointless to you, but it will really help them get involved. You might think that it is useless, but they like it because their style is visual. And it says use words like see, picture, look. These words help visual people understand better. This will cause better communication and better understanding. Now, auditory people, what are they like? It says if your least preferred system is again auditory, you have to pay attention to these issues. It says make sure to listen to people carefully. Listen carefully because their preferred system might be auditory and they communicate through ears. If you don't listen carefully, they will think that you're not paying attention to them. So, they like to discuss ideas with you. Now, listen carefully to them so that they feel good. Don't interrupt them. What is interrupt? It means don't stop them when they are talking. Let them talk and let them say everything and then say your opinion. And it says don't attempt to summarize using your own words. So, let them say it themselves and just listen carefully. Use phrases like I hear you, that sounds like, because these have to do with hearing and their preferred system is hearing. And explain ideas and concepts at a greater length. It means give them long explanations, not very short ones. Short explanations do not help them. They would like to hear more and more. So, give them an opportunity to respond verbally if their opinion is important to you. Let them just talk to you and listen to them. That is what they like. Then we've got kinesthetic people. You remember that they liked movements, touching, and their environment had to be full of crafts. Do you remember that? So, if you are not a kinesthetic type, if you don't use your just kinesthetic system much, then you need to know that feelings are important to these people. It says, be aware of the feelings of others so as not to accidentally hurt them. Pay attention to these feelings so that they don't feel bad, so they feel good when they are communicating with you. It says, do not ignore their feelings. What is ignore? Disregard, remember? Disregard is the opposite of pay attention. So, it means you have to pay attention to their feelings. Do not consider their feelings silly, because they are important, very important to them. To you, they might seem silly, but to them, they are very important. So, people with this preference may become very stubborn if they feel bad. When people's feelings are wounded, they feel very bad. They don't like it. So, They might become stubborn if they feel bad. What is stubborn? Yes, kal shaq in Farsi. And when you explain something to them, you need to walk, because when they see you move, they learn better. And also, if they have physical movement, they will learn better. Words you need to use with them also have this physical notion, like grip things. Yes, come to grips with means understand. بچه گریپ توی انگلیسی به معنای گرفتن هم هست، محکم توی دست گرفتن. پس وقتی از این فعل استفاده میکنیم که کلمه‌ای داره توش که این کلمه به آدم‌هایی که کینستتیکن کمک میکنه اون حس فیزیکی بودن منتقل بشه، بهتر یاد میگیرن. And be patient if they get fidgety because they are just fans of comfort. What is fidgety? If you become fidgety, you move a lot. You cannot sit still. You cannot sit on the chair. You need to change your position again and again. That is fidgety. People usually fidget when they feel bored or when actually the place they're sitting is not comfortable. And finally, auditory digital people. If this is your least preferred system, again, if you are not really into logic, facts, and science, I don't know, maybe you prefer to act or make decisions based on your feelings. Now that you're talking to someone who prefers logic, then you have to be very careful. You cannot be vague. What is vague? Vague means unclear. If what you say is not clear to them, then they will not just follow you, and they will not understand you. They will lose interest. You turn them off, it means they lose interest. They don't listen to you anymore. So, be very clear when you're talking to them. And remember to use facts. Present facts means just show them the facts that you have and talk about science, logic, and the like. Don't ignore details. Pay a lot of attention to details. And use words like understand, know, and the like, because when you use such words, they have to do with logic, and they will agree with you more. پس توی این قسمت خوندیم که آدم‌های مختلف اگر می‌خوایم باهاشون ارتباط برقرار بکنیم چجوری باید ارتباط برقرار بکنیم. الان میدونیم که اونی که ویژوال هستش و از ویژوال سیستمش بیشتر استفاده میکنه نیاز داره ببینه تا یاد بگیره، تا متوجه منظور ما بشه. پس فقط با حرف زدن نمیشه باشه ارتباط موثری برقرار کرد. ممکنه به نظر خود ما بی اهمیت بیاد دیدن ها، چون ما ممکنه سیستممون متفاوت باشه، ولی به نظر اون فرد خیلی مهمه این قضیه. یا الان میدونیم اونی که آدیتوریه نیاز داره بشنوه، با دیدن تنها شاید متوجه نشه. میدونیم اونی که کینستتیکه نیاز داره حرکت کنه، لمس کنه، جاش راحت باشه تا متوجه بشه. و آدیتوری دیجیتال ها نیاز به منطق و واقعیت ها دارن تا متوجه بشن. خب حالا همه اینا به چه درد ما میخوره؟ فکر بکنید به این که توی دانشگاه، توی محیط کار، همکلاسیاتون، همکاراتون آدم‌هایین با ترجیحات متفاوت. پس ما باید بدونیم که چجوری با آدم‌های مختلف ارتباط برقرار کنیم. Look at the green box. It asks the same question. How can understanding your preferred sense help you at work? If you know what you like most, how can it help you? Can you be more successful when communicating with your colleagues, co-workers, your boss, and the like? Definitely yes. Also, paying attention to their preferred system helps you be better communicators. Then you can communicate more successfully with different people. Remember, some people use these a lot. As the text says, public speakers, who are public speakers? People who talk to large groups of people. Public speakers, salespeople, for example, in shops who sell you things, like you go to a clothes shop, then the salesperson comes and tells you, how can I help you? And then you tell them, I want this and that. They need to know your style very good, otherwise they're not very successful salespeople. And teachers use this a lot, it seems. These jobs need this knowledge. So, try to get advantage from it, because you can become very powerful. You can be a great communicator if you know these well. And use this knowledge wisely. What is wisely? Yes, means with care, and use it very well. So, here's the end of the lesson. Good luck.